Hello? My name is Joe. Hi. I work on D-Pad Studio, and I think we're most known for our game Owlboy. In case you haven't seen it yet, I'm gonna play the trailer here. Let's see. So that's Owlboy, and we've been thank you. We've been working on Owlboy for about 7 years now, so it's been a long time coming, but we're finally in beta, so the game is coming out eventually. Owlboy was created by Simon, that's this guy. And yes, he has the most magnificent hair in the world. And all of the animations, all of the stuff that you see in Owlboy, Simon has created on his own. We're a team of 3 members that work full-time, with 2 members who are foreign. And I've tried to sneak past my own pixel art in Owlboy. But then Simon comes and ruins it all. So, yeah, not so successful right there. But the thing is, Lynn asked us if we could make a presentation on how Norway has evolved. And we decided it's time to finally leave our office and go on a road trip. So I brought plenty of cameras, and instead of me just telling you, you'll be hearing from the developers around Norway. I'm going to give you a quick intro. Let's see. And yeah, I'm going to show a few clips. I'll edit the whole thing into a whole movie later on, and I'll visit some more studios as well. I didn't get to visit Bergen, which is kind of ironic since I live here. But let's have a look. So this trip has been a long time coming. I've been wanting to visit the Hamar Game Collective for the longest of times, but we just haven't had any opportunity. So I jumped on it once Lynn asked us. So first off, we're going to visit a guy who sadly isn't here today. Most of the other developers are here, so after the presentation you can talk to them if you have any questions. But let's see.
Ja, spillet er sånn rundt 70%, ja, kanskje 80% ferdig, hvor jeg nå sitter og polerer opp campaign-moden til noe som er noenlunde ferdig.
Ja.
Og så skal jo dette da markedsføres for eksempel på Parks Australia og sende ut konkurranser og sånn, samtidig som jeg da får lagt inn den der siste arcade-moden som skal liksom sørge for replay value, at spillet er et fullverdig produkt.
Ja.
Dette skal da alt være ferdig i løpet av året. Og så blir Q1 neste år da dedikert til markedsføring og release. Ja, det har gått både bedre og litt svakere enn forventet. Det er sånn at jeg har fått reist mer rundt enn jeg trodde, og at jeg for eksempel fikk en feature i Polygon var jo dritfett.
Ja.
Det som skuffet meg litt var hvor lite det viste å ha å si.
Ja.
Den Polygon-featuren ga meg 2000 views på YouTube. Så det gjør meg litt smånervøs for liksom, hvordan jeg faktisk kan nå critical mass med marketinga.
Ja.
For det var en av de som overrasket meg veldig når jeg var på for eksempel GDC. Så det gikk liksom en ansatt fra Blizzard forbi og sa ja, jeg har sett det spillet her, og delte det med noen folk på sånn personlig forum og sånn.
Awesome.
Og når vi nylig hadde en besøkende fra Square, så sa han jo at han kjente en fyr som var litt småsjalu på han for at han fikk lov til å snakke med meg.
Ja.
Jeg var sånn, what? Så folk har tydeligvis tatt merke til det, men critical mass, det er ikke nærheten enda.
Nei.
Det så ikke så aller verste til deg, Karl.
Nei, det så dritstilig ut.
Ja.
Og liksom veldig sånn originalt. Jeg føler norske indiespill er gode på å skille seg litt ut.
Ja, det er det også.
Det startet med at jeg var på en Global Game Jam i Hamar her, hvor jeg da på en måte innså hei, det er sånn programmeringsverktøy som GameMaker og Construct 2, de er gode nok til at jeg kan lage et kult spill alene. Og så begynte jeg også å se at liksom, den type spill jeg ønsket å lage, som da var liksom, sånn rytmeplattformer eller alternative rytmespillene, de begynte å komme i vinden. Og så jeg traileren til 140, det spillet fra denne Limbo-utvikleren. Det var farlig nærme den opprinnelige ideen jeg hadde. Den bare, fuck, om jeg ikke starter nå, så er jeg en rip-off av min egen idé i løpet av noen få år, så jeg bare startet av ren frykt for at ideen min skulle bli irrelevant.
Ja. So that's Clang, and a lot of his worry was that he wasn't going to get the promotion right. And Norway, generally, haven't had many notable titles. From the top of my head, The Longest Journey, of course, was a hit, I guess you could say. Not on like a global scale, but at least it did well enough so that it could inspire more developers and keep the market growing. So how should we continue promoting Norwegian games? Well, I don't think being Norwegian in itself is worth promoting. As long as we keep making good games and just keep keep up with the market and make unique games, which it seems that most indies in Norway are doing right now, then I think a lot of it will solve itself. Now, we've even got our first Norwegian publisher, so I think things will only improve from here. And we'll just having Konsoll and having Emmy Jonasson talk about how to promote games and stuff, it's already helping. So, yeah. The next step is the rise of game collectives, which I think is a very interesting thing that's happening in Norway. So I went to Hamar Game Collective and had a talk with Runa, who's the chief of the collective.
Så skjedde det jo relativt organisk, eller det vokste fram litt av seg selv, og man ser jo hvor fordelaktig det har vært for utviklerne, da. Det å sitte sammen, og det at det skjer litt mer også, at vi setter opp eventer og sånne ting, at vi får inn foredragsholdere, og bare det at vi er samlokaliserte, sånn at vi kan dele på en del ressurser og sånne type ting, at alt er til fordel for utviklerne. Men så tror jeg det ble tatt opp det poenget i går også, at det er fortsatt ingen som har utviklet så like produkter at de er i direkte konkurranse med hverandre. Men ja, altså frem til det skjer, så hvorfor ikke holde på sånn som vi gjør nå? Ja. Men så får man se hvis man gjør noe av det helt samme, om ting kommer til å endre seg. Den tid, den sorg, I guess. Håpet er jo at den skal bli bærekraftig, i det minste at utviklerne tjener nok til å holde det gående, og at vi får mindre av altså det at folk tar oppdrag på siden og sånne ting som ikke er relatert til kjernevirksomheten deres. Det er drømmen. Ja. Og så vil vi også gjerne jobbe litt for å få spillstøtta ut av filmstøtta. At vi får et eget fond for støtte til spill. Selvfølgelig så ligger jo hovedfokuset mitt på Hamar Game Collective, men generelt norsk spillbransje fortjener mer oppmerksomhet enn det de får, mener jeg. Men det skjer veldig mye spennende her, og det blir laget så mye gode produkter og så mye kule spill at det burde absolutt ropes fra takene.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is, for some reason, there's been a huge rise of collectives. And I think this is because our industry is so young that we're at like kindergarten stage. And what would a kindergarten be if there was just one kid? It'd be kind of sad. So I think we need each other at this point. At some point, though, shouldn't we compete in reality? This market is getting overflown by new games. People are making games all the time. Like every day, there's like 10 new titles coming to Steam. So how is it going to turn out when we start making games that look like each other? And is there going to be feuds? I don't know. But right now, it seems that everyone's friends. And everyone's here, I think, too. Most of us, at least. So while it lasts, we should just learn from each other. Now, let's see here. Also, I've been talking to Krillbite, and I think they're the most prolific Norwegian developer right now, because their game was so good that it actually got international attention. Let's hear him talk a little bit about it.
Krillbite startet som en pilotproduksjon på Hamar, på Høgskolen i Hedmark. Ja. Hvor mange var det når dere begynte?
Vi var 9 stykker. Så jeg tror det var den største gruppa som hadde vært på en bachelorgrad ved den skolen. Både før og siden. Jeg tror aldri de tillot det igjen.
Ja, det var en stor gruppe. Og målet var vel da å få til en demo i løpet av det året. Det gikk vel ikke så veldig bra, men ble da stiftet AS og lik rett etter at skolen ble ferdig.
Så jobbet vi videre på bacheloroppgaven vår Among the Sleep i 3 år til, før vi ga det ut.
Ja.
Vi kunne alltid brukt mer tid på det, men det var deilig at det kom ut og det ble et spill.
Jeg tror nok, vi har snakket flere ganger om at hvis vi hadde visst hvor lang tid det kom til å ta da vi gikk ut fra studiet, så hadde vi aldri kommet til å jobbe videre på det. For da gikk vi ut med en innstilling om at det her kom til å bli ferdig på maks et år.
Ja.
Og det tok 3 ganger så lang tid.
Ja.
Men når man ser tilbake igjen nå, så er det jo alt vi lærte i løpet av de 3 årene, og at vi til slutt i hvert fall fikk gitt ut, at det ikke ble kansellert og ikke ble noe av, og så videre, gjør jo at det er verdt det på veldig mange måter da. Men det tok jo 4 år å komme hit da. Alle hadde jo deltidsjobber de første 2 årene i hvert fall, etter studiet, og ja. Så det har tatt tid, men nå er vi der endelig, og det er veldig deilig. Ja. Vi hadde et vindu der vi enten måtte velge å gi det ut før sommeren eller etter sommeren, fordi det salg av spillet er ganske dødt i sommermånedene. Og da hadde vi før E3 var det vel et gap på et par uker. Så da måtte vi egentlig bare, vi hadde ikke finansiering til å holde ut over sommeren, så da måtte vi bare få det ut på de 2 ukene. Så
Nå eller aldri. Ja.
Det var litt, nå eller aldri følelse.
Ja. Jeg tror på kontoret her i hvert fall, så tror jeg lå for det meste tiden på teppet i ukene etterpå. Ja. Og liksom, hvis det var noe som hadde breaket på lyden, så gikk jeg opp, gikk til dataen, fiks, ned tilbake på gulvet og bare styret og tok opp i taket.
Ja.
Tingen var at det var en veldig organisk overgang til at vi skulle bli et kollektiv, fordi vi var folk som jobbet på samme kontoret og hadde samme liksom, og kjente hverandre og jobbet sammen ganske fritt i forhold til informasjon og sånn. Så Moondrop og Serepta og Krillbite og Rufmus da, det var liksom samme sted, og det virket ganske sånn, la oss lage et kollektiv og heller lage det til noe eget.
Så jo mer tid som går, jo jo større ressurs blir Hamar Game Collective for alle de som er med i kollektivet.
Ja. Og jeg arrangerer sånn regelmessig testebonanza der alle utviklere kan komme og teste spill og spille og ha det artig sånn.
Det er jo en utrolig viktig ressurs egentlig for at også vi inviterer folk på hvem som helst fra hele landet kan komme, og også studenter og sånn, alle som vil ta med noe som er relatert til spill. Om det er grafikk eller lyd eller sånn, så de kan komme og vise frem eller teste andre, så det er godt for å teste sin egen ting, og det er veldig godt for å bli kjent med andre og se hva folk driver med da. Ses på Konsoll.
Ja, masse.
Among the Sleep is already out, by the way. And one of the things that drove Krillbite, they said they were planning to only use a year on it, is passion. And passion is something that you can only run on for a limited time. In the end, you have to kind of make a living, and you have to set a goal instead of just crunching your body and your soul into making a game, because you can get burnout. And that's happened to a lot of the people I know in this industry, because especially in Norway, the industry is so young, we don't really have any guidelines yet. Like, we can go to the GDC and stuff and learn about how to make games, but we don't really know how to limit ourselves. To get a game out, we kind of evolve our hobby and it needs to evolve into a job instead. So that you set proper guidelines and stuff for yourself. And next up, we're going to talk to Sarepta, which has this down to a science.
Vi er ikke ferdig med Shadow Puppeteer.
Nei.
Det blir jo ikke på en stund. Vi skal jo ut på Wii U, som vi gleder oss veldig til.
Ja.
Det kommer til å bli en veldig nyttig erfaring. Altså, det er enda ikke så mange norske utviklere som har gitt ut på konsoll. Så det er fortsatt litt sånn spennende og nytt.
Ja.
Det har vært veldig givende, synes jeg. Morsomt, spennende. Mye ups and downs. Man blir jo møkla i spillet på et tidspunkt. Jeg har ikke lyst til å se på det engang, og så legger man det kanskje litt fra seg, og så får man andre til å se på det, og så får man mye praise og innser at ja, kanskje det var litt bra likevel, og så blir man stolt og glad. Men altså, ja, vi har jo måttet, vi har kanskje lagd om spillet 3 ganger allerede. Ja.
Mye mer ressurser tilgjengelig på en måte. Altså, vi har jo et miljø hvor vi kan bounce ideer frem og tilbake og ta litt ting fra hverandre. Så det er jo annerledes, vil jeg si. Så når vi begynte, så var det jo altså på det første så jobbet vi jo i en helt annen motor. Det var jo den første iterasjonen av spillet. Så det var jo å finne ut av mye selv. Nå så har vi et miljø rundt oss.
Helt i starten så var det veldig, veldig smått, og vi satt vel egentlig kanskje litt som det her, skulder i skulder, og jobbet også litt på skift. Det har vært viktig for oss å alltid ha et kontor, og alltid prøve å skulle jobbe måte, fra 8 til 4, eller fra 9 til 5. Så det har vært viktig for oss da. Og så prøve det å skulle unngå dårlige arbeidsrutiner, eller for mye overtidsjobbing og sånne type ting. Så det har vært veldig viktig for oss helt fra starten av da.
Altså, vi har jo et åpent landskap her på en måte. Men altså, vi har jo hver vår del av lokalet, så det er fullt mulig å ha på en måte privatliv, eller å kunne ha et lukket møte, selv om det er et åpent kontorlandskap. Altså, det er veldig greit å zone ut på en måte, i og med at vi er såpass oppdelt som vi er.
Vi er jo veldig stolte av at vi kommer fra Norge og er norske, men jeg tror vi også er veldig klar over hvor irrelevant det kan være for mange i utlandet. At de ikke nødvendigvis ser på hvor spillet kommer fra, men at det heller handler om at det er et kult spill.
Det er ofte egentlig litt som familier og sånn. Hvis du snakker med de, så husker de det litt lettere, for det er, sånn, det er litt mer eksotisk. Men jeg tror ikke, det er nok ikke så veldig mange av nyhetssidene som bryr seg så veldig om hvor vi er fra.
So one thing that Marianne touches on is how important is it for a game to be Norwegian, and you realize that it's not. What is important though is to work properly on your game once you start, because Sarepta was one of the first indies I ever met in Norway, and I was surprised at how they worked because they were actually organized. I don't think I know of any indies in Norway still that has the organization bit down, but they did from the start, and they even worked on side projects to continue fund their own development, and they didn't give up on it, and they actually, when I talked to them was the exact day that they released the Shadow Puppeteer a year from then. So congratulations. And right now they're working on a Wii U port, and I also see that they've managed to get a little more active when they talk about the game, and I think it's going to be a huge hit. And I think we should take some cues from them when we develop our businesses. Have meetings with people, work proper hours, and yeah, have a proper office. In the end, we can't all work from our mom's basement, which we've been doing for 7 years, but still, we need to, at some point, treat this like a business. Let's go to Oslo now. I'm going to talk to a guy called Jo-Remi, because he's so in love with Norway. He's an American, that he just decided to move here. So I wanted to ask him, how is the Norwegian gaming scene compared to the American one?
Studios, Sarepta Studios, Raven Studios, Hyper Games.
So all of them?
No, about 20% plan. For now, what I'm doing is I'm working both here and in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to work in Norway until I get my work permit, so I'm working in San Francisco.
Okay.
I have my recording studio there, and you know, there's games being produced there.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, I'm also starting a software company in Norway to develop game audio tools. It's a very different kind of industry here, because the games industry in Norway is telling stories that are interesting to and based around Norwegian culture, even if the actual stories themselves don't seem like it. These types of storytelling are a lot more Norwegian. But because it's such a young industry, and it's people who are getting into it because of their love of making games, it's also, everybody seems to be much more willing to take a lot of chances and do interesting things rather than the tried and true. And that's really what attracts me to it. Well, every game company I've ever worked with is different culturally. That's just part of how businesses run. And the thing about most businesses is that businesses tend to be top-down organizations. Right. So whoever is the leader of a business will inspire the way the culture beneath them functions. So if you have somebody who is who's fun and, you know, evokes a lot of fun, you'll have a much more playful culture. If you have someone who is suspicious of their employees, then you'll get a much more toxic culture.
Yeah.
Right? And that's true of any kind of business.
Yeah.
I've seen all different kinds. I mean, if you look at game companies like, say, Double Fine, clearly you have some really fun people running that company, and you know, they tend to have people who are much more into having fun in the workplace. I see in my thread my friends at Double Fine going out bowling together and you know, doing all kinds of fun stuff, and that's the kind of workplace. I mean, the indies here are not spectacularly different than, say, the indies that I've worked with in the U.S. or in Denmark or in the Netherlands or anywhere else. There tends to be small teams that are very agile and can, you know, go, ooh, I had a great idea, let's put it in the game, and then all of a sudden there's a new game being made out of that idea instead of, It's like, oh, it doesn't work with that game, let's make another game. Or game jams and things like that. There's a whole different kind of culture that comes out of that as opposed to, say, working at a developer of some size where, you know, people kind of have to wait until there's room for, you know, pitching a game idea.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just a totally different type of culture. I would say all the indies are pretty similar everywhere.
Yeah.
Even if you don't think your game is Norwegian culturally influenced, it actually is.
Yeah.
Because you guys are Norwegians, and the types of stories that Norwegians tend to tell, and the way you approach something, the kinds of humor that's brought into something is still, all these things are very Norwegian. One of the things that I dearly love about Norway in the culture is that there's a bit of fun kind of injected into everything. There's this, I hate to use the word naivete because I don't think that Norwegians are naive at all. But the culture has this kind of willful disbelief in bad things, right? Like there's room in the world for fun and good things, and in fact those are probably predominant in everybody's worlds. So if you want to make waffles, right? Of course they come in shareable hearts. I mean, things like that are just they're so part of the culture, but they're really representative of the kind of playfulness and kind of, you know, wanting for everything to be good.
Yeah.
And you know, positive. That's part of Norwegian culture. So if you think about all of these things that really do make you and the culture Norwegian, and you think about the fact that many of these things get represented in your games, and remember that they're not universal. These ideas of, you know, just, you know, heart-shaped waffles, you know, or picking people, you know, the kindness of just complete and total and trustworthiness of total strangers.
Yeah.
Those are not universal. You don't find that absolutely everywhere. Right? Huh. You find it in some places. Yeah. I mean, certainly there are lots of places where you find trustworthy and good people.
Yeah.
I mean, most places I think you find good people. But the things that, you know, if I was to make out a list of things that I go, okay, these are qualities that I see in Norway, you can put those into your games and then very easily defend that this is about Norwegian culture. It is not a desolation. It's just a very young, burgeoning industry.
So I was asking Jory, why did you move to Norway? You know that this is a desolation when it comes to games, right? But just the fact that he's still here shows how much potential we have. And he touched on the how indies work in America and in Norway, and that they're very similar, he said. Although our games might have that hint of naivete, as he called it. Like a very good example is Among the Sleep, where you actually play as a baby, which is extremely playful, right? So I think just the fact that we are Norwegian and we have the view that we have, I think that'll shine through our games, just like Jory is saying. And I hope we just continue. Like I don't think we've ever made a first-person shooter from Norway. I can't think of a single title, which also might be a little bit representative. Lastly, we need to have success, and Jørgen will talk a little bit about this. He's been in the games industry for a very, very long time. I think he's been working on Funcom for several years at least. And right now he started his own studio and he's released something called, let's see.
Jeg kom jo ut, jeg hadde vært produsent på Game of Thrones og jobbet med HBO og Big Point i 13 måneder. Og etter Funcom så var jeg egentlig ganske lei MMO'er, for å si det mildt. Og gikk jo egentlig på en liten mental selvsmell da. Og så ble jo Game of Thrones eksakt det samme. Og jeg er jo utrolig glad i spill, og jeg spiller jo veldig mye spill hver dag, og jeg ville bare tilbake til den der gleden ved å lage spill. Og jeg synes mobilene og det å lage mer casual spill da, var utrolig noe jeg hadde lyst til å fokusere på da. Altså vi har jo byttet helt markedssegment, plattform, bransjen har forandret seg kraftig da, i løpet av de årene her. Så alt må læres på nytt, og mye av det vi trodde vi visste var feil. Ja, på en måte så er jeg superfornøyd. Jeg synes det har vært fantastisk det som har skjedd, spesielt siden takke NFI-støtta for at den kom opp og også Unity, og de nye plattformene, altså mobil og alt det sånne ting. Altså det var en del sånne faktorer som bare trådde sammen med utdanning og folk og miljø og sånne ting, så det er blitt et kjempemiljø i Norge. Så jeg sitter og lager et foredrag nå, så 90-tallet var liksom bare Funcom og Innerloop og de Maga da. Men jeg synes det er stort utropstegn at det er så utrolig få som tjener penger. Så var det den rapporten, så var det 140 studioer eller 130 eller, som kaller seg spillbedrift. Og så tror jeg nesten du kan telle på en hånd hvem det er som tjener penger, og det er den lidenskapen, entusiasmen som alle har da, den er jo, altså jeg høres jeg gammel oppgitt her ute nå, som jeg er 42. Det er noe som er veldig lett å ha når du er tidlig i 20-åra og ikke har sånn som meg 3 unger og huslån og sånne ting. Og det å ta den overgangen fra den, ok, nå kan jeg leve jævlig billig og ha en lidenskap, til nå må jeg faktisk tjene penger på dette her. Og det er den overgangen jeg håper kommer til å skje noe, sånn at vi som får 10-20 selskaper da, som faktisk tjener penger og kan ansette fra hverandre, og altså vi får at det er neste fase da. Og det tror jeg, det håper jeg. Så min ambisjon da, er jo selvfølgelig at vi skal bli større i Norge. Det er liksom det som jeg tror at det er fint rom for det, fordi jeg har jo sett også the dark side av det å drive og flytte ut. Det har en kostnad det også, ikke bare sånn kroner og øre på bånd, men det koster tid å manage, og folk blir lenger fra hverandre, og så videre, og så videre. Så tror jeg også at du kommer til å få en vekst av selskaper som kommer på litt andre plattformer, simulering og geolokasjon, og liksom litt sånn andre, litt sånn spillaktig. Og spillbedriftene tror jeg kommer til å, de du ser i dag, tror jeg mange av de kommer til å være her om 5 år også. Men jeg tror også det er en kraftig avskalling som kommer og hele tiden skjer da. Men alle famler jo blinde. Så det er sånn der, hvis ikke de hadde gjort det, så hadde jo alle bare fortsatt å være enorme suksesser, og det er det jo ikke. Så...
Yep, it's true. We can't all be successful. But there are things that we can do to make sure, let's see, we at least get some exposure. And is truly success our goal? I think my goal with Owlboy is to get it done and start working on another project. I don't care if it sells millions. I only want to work comfortably. And I think that's also something that I share with a lot of Norwegian developers. They just want to work on their passion. And we need to understand the business. And that's really hard because we don't have that many success stories yet. We have had Funcom, and right now they're in a pickle because a lot of things has happened since their glory days, and they're kind of falling apart. I don't even think their main base is in Norway anymore. They moved out to Canada. And the rise of indies in Norway, it seems that we can make an industry based on only the developers that are now. Like, there are more games coming now than ever. And of course, I hope some of them stay, and some of them maybe need to fall out, because not everyone will be successful. But at least we can try. And I hope that we can just continue what we're doing, because it seems that we're doing pretty good at this point. And it continues to grow, and that we don't start hating each other, because right now, we're all friends. And yeah, I love this. I hope it continues forever. So, thanks. Yeah, if there are any questions, then raise your hands. If not, yeah.
Okay, so I've been hearing a lot about people talking about games and being afraid that games will start becoming like other games and that we're just going to create a loop of the same games. But we have been writing books and songs and music for hundreds and hundreds of years. And even though some music and some books are basically the same, or movies like Hamlet and The Lion King, we still continue to create new things all the time. So I don't think the game industry is going to have a downfall just because we've been creating so many games. I think it's going to go a long time before we start having to create the same games again. And what do you think about this?
Hopefully. The fact is, in the 80s, there was a downfall. Atari came out, and I think E.T., which was a really crappy game, so crappy that it crashed an industry. At that point, that's when Miyamoto entered the industry and basically saved it by making Mario and Nintendo. I've been pretty anxious right now because we can see the same signs happening. The market is getting overflooded with just crappy titles and stuff. Of course, I think we're better judges now, though. I think the players are getting more informed about games and hopefully make the right choices when they buy them. So I think the industry won't crash, of course. It'll just continue and maybe reboot or restart like it did back in the 80s. And we'll see even more innovative stuff. We all have hopes for Oculus Rift and virtual reality gaming and stuff. Maybe that's the new thing. I don't know. We'll see. But at least gaming will always be the ultimate medium because it's a mix between images, sound, and video. Right, so we can do anything with games. That's something that any other medium can't do. So it'll just continue expanding, hopefully. Yeah.
How have you survived for 7 years?
I wonder at myself. Maybe I'm dead. I don't know. We've been very lucky. My mom and my dad owns a huge house. Next to the house is an apartment, which when I met Simon, I lived there by myself. We made it into an office instead. I invited Simon to live there, and he's been living there ever since, and that's 4 years ago now. Just working on Owlboy and continuing to try and live relatively comfortable. So it's all thanks to my mom and dad, really. Also, we released a game called Savant Ascent, which we did just to prove to people that we can make games. Because people were losing faith that Owlboy would ever come out. So we had to prove to them, okay, we can make games, damn it. And we made one in 5 weeks. And it became a hit, luckily, because now we can afford food, which is great. We can't afford to move out and make our own office yet, but hopefully that'll get in place once Owlboy is done. So yeah, that's basically how we've survived. Yeah.
So something I've seen in comics and illustration and writing industries, and I'm seeing now in the indie industry, how much of a responsibility do you feel indies have when they enjoy your privileged position to disclose that level of privilege in their success stories once they have become successful? Because if that question hadn't been asked, obviously.
No. Repeat the question one more time.
Indie creators like yourself, and again, like comic book creators and independent writers, a lot of independents, enjoy their success because of a privileged position, like, say, the situation you're in at the moment. What responsibility do you feel to disclose this information so others don't get led down a false path? Because that was not exposed until the question was asked.
That's the reason why I'm here, kind of. I want to talk to people about what has happened to us and how Norway has evolved from being this non-existent place, right? So one of the responsibilities that I feel is that I need to make sure that everyone is happy making games. Because when I was a little kid, I was playing games, but I didn't have anyone to talk to at all about games. I live on a very secluded island where TVs are rare. So the first time I ever talked to anyone like passionately about games was when I went to high school, actually. I started meeting people, and that's why I feel so close with the indie community, because I can actually talk about games with them. And I think we should, just continue talking with each other. I hope that there won't be a war, indie war, like there might ought to be if we're competing, you know. But yeah, let's just continue to be friends, please. And I think that's the only thing that people need to hear. Keep working and keep enjoying it. If you stop enjoying it, you should immediately stop and go get a regular job or just continue being happy. Yeah, one of you.
I'm wondering, is there a lot of collaboration between the Nordic countries? You know, do you do like game jams in Sweden or in Denmark or in Finland? Or is it very sort of centric towards the...
We are collaborating a lot, I think. Right now, Lyst is a new event that's going to happen in Hamar, where I think it's a bunch of Danish people that has... they're going to have a day where they show games that revolve around love and sex and stuff, which is kind of weird to me, but at least it's, I think it'll get better with time too. We got something called the Nordic Game Conference, where all of the Nordic countries go and meet up and get to talk to each other, party, and I think they do some award ceremony and stuff, only for Nordic games. So that's also our relationship, I think, will increase with time. I think that the year that we were there, I think that was in 2010 or 2011, was the first time any indies, any Norwegians had actually shown their game at something called the Indie Game Night. So, and now I think there's, last year I think there was like 3 or 4. So it's increasing, luckily.
You can hear me? Beautiful. So you toured Norway around visiting the indie community.
Yeah.
But as you said, you didn't get into the community in Bergen.
No, and there's a lot of communities I want to go to.
And the question really is, what would you have kind of answered yourself if you came through the door saying, "Hey, I'm touring Norway"?
I would invite them in for coffee and cookies, I think. And then we'd probably talk for hours on end. That's what we usually do, and that's what happened when back in, I think it was 2010, VGTV came to our door, and they made a similar documentary type thing where they saw that indies had started rising. And we were in the first episode there. And what happened? We just sat around a table and talked about games for hours. I feel sorry for them because they had to edit it all. But we've had a pretty challenging time because Simon, our art director, he's been the same as me. He hasn't really been able to talk about his stuff to anyone because he's been kind of isolated from people who don't think that games had a future at all. But look at it now, right? So I think that's the thing I would focus on, how much things have changed if anyone came and interviewed me. So yeah, hope that answers your question. Thank you. And I think, okay.
Yeah, hi. So you say that you love the focus on how we're all friends in Norway, the game developing community. But do you think that what do you think breeds the best work environment for developing a game? Do you think it's being friends with everyone and having passion, or maybe the competitive part that makes you want to make the best game, not necessarily a similar games, but just making one of the best games?
Well, of course we have to try to compete on the international market. That's what's basically changed in the Norwegian industry. A lot of games before that came out of Norway stayed inside Norway. A lot of children's games and stuff like that. Whereas now, the focus has been shifted to a global market, luckily, because that's where we need to be. I hope, of course, that we don't get too much competition, because we've got so much to learn from each other. So I just hope we can all be friends until the end. Of course, there might come rivaling companies at some point, like, you know, Microsoft, Sony, that kind of clash with each other. There might be some now without me knowing. But it seems that all are friends. Are we friends? Yeah. Sounds like it. So until further notice.
Hello? Yeah. I really just want to actually elaborate or rephrase Claire's question.
Okay.
Because there was also a question about how have you survived for 7 years?
Oh, okay.
And Jørgen in his video also kind of touched on the issue that it's easy to not have to make money if you can live with your parents,
yeah.
or don't have to pay for office spaces or have children and stuff like that. And I think what you were trying to ask is that do you feel responsible to kind of let people know that you made it because you didn't have to pay for all these things? And is it important that other developers don't look at you and think like, well, they made it, so why shouldn't we, if they don't have those same privileges?
Yeah, well, thing is, I don't want to ruin them, so I don't usually tell them how long and how hard we've been working on it. Because and the reason why we can do it is because I'm a robot, so I can last. While others, they might hit the wall at some point, right? Because maybe they started making a game, it was a great idea, and then when they worked so long on it, they just start hating it, you know. Which luckily hasn't happened with us yet. I think Simon hates everything at this point, but he's been working on it for so long, right? After Owlboy is done, we're probably gonna have a half-year-long vacation. But I think what I would tell people is to, well, it's like I said, be happy with what you do. And just continue doing it until it makes you unhappy. and our way of living isn't acceptable for everyone. Not in my age, at least. I think people want to get started with their lives. So, yeah. And yeah.
Okay.
Okay, final question.
Oh, okay, sorry.
You mentioned that people are more informed nowadays earlier, so there's a lot of official websites that rate games and review them, writing articles and all that, but their rating and how much they criticize the game has nowadays become agenda-driven. So, well, although it's not necessarily the case for all of it, it does happen quite often now. And so in terms of marketing the game, it looks like the only true way to really get good and accurate marketing is through YouTube, where people are making videos and showing gameplay. Like for instance, there are some people that dedicate themselves to the showing videos like this, like Total Biscuit. I believe you might be familiar with him. And so in terms of marketing, what do you think you would do about this?
There are many ways of spreading your game. Back in the day, people just passed discs to one another and installed the game, like Doom and Wolfenstein and stuff. I don't know if people even bought games back then. I didn't. I just got discs from my friends. What has happened now is people sit and watch other people playing games because we've become so social now. So I think you have to kind of factor in that people won't buy your game because they've watched it all on YouTube, perhaps. But still, I'm not too afraid because, as I said earlier, it's not important for me to have great success. It's only important for me to keep making enough so that I can keep working, right? So, and marketing isn't something we've been focusing a lot on, simply because our game already kind of has its fan base. There's a lot of people waiting for a game to come out, so we just want to finish it so we can please those people. We'll probably look into marketing more once the beta is finished. And I'll probably blog a little bit about it, so you can check that out. I did it when we released Savant Ascent, because that was kind of what we consider a success story. It sold about 400,000 copies now. So I decided to write a blog about it, how we maintained the game after it was released and stuff like that, which is something that can actually drive sales in itself. When we first released it, we sold about 1,000 copies, maybe the first month. But we continued working on it, and in the end, it just started making money for some reason. So yeah, thanks.